All right. Welcome, everybody. Surprise Tuesday morning live, doing something completely unprecedented. We are recording an episode for season 2 of Business on the Raw with returning champion Janine Payne. And we have a wonderful, exciting guest today, Renee Hastings from Executive Help Now, in which we have done some wonderful work with in the past. You should definitely check out her Stone Fruit Roll Up episode on our YouTube channel. She is an incredible person, and she's coming to help us today move the needle on really establishing an absolutely picture perfect working business model for Janine and her new business. So we're going live with it because why not? We're live streaming, but this is a fly on the wall perspective. Think of it like a reality show or a documentary. We're not doing all the bells and whistles and drum roll and one man band of a live show like the Stone for Roll Up. And this isn't a pre-recorded premiere like season 1 of Business of the Raw. This is really just documenting our business journey together and our quality conversation. So expect something a little bit more subdued and subtle. We're not really doing a lot of audience engagement. It's really focused on the three of us, but we're going live with it because it's a modern world. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out Miss Renee. Hey, Renee.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, girl. Thank you so much for coming and doing something wildly experimental with us today. We're just going to see what it's like to just live stream, like the old fly on the wall perspective days. So thanks for being up for something new.
Let's bring always down for something new.
That's honestly why I was like, this is the episode to start experimenting with that, because you're so flexible and wonderful to just kind of go with the flow and still be magnetic. You were perfect. All right. I'm going to bring Janine.
Awesome.
Hey,
Janine.
Hi.
Welcome back.
I'm so glad to be back. It's been a refreshing last few weeks, and it's great to see Renee and yourself. This is awesome. I think it's
good to see you.
Yeah, it's you guys have kind of known each other tangentially, a little bit through the connections that are happening with all the activity that's happening here. Renee and I used to be colleagues at 100 TV, and Business on the Raw was born through 100 TV. So there's a lot of family vibe here, but this is the first time we're all kind of sitting down together and being part of a conversation. And as I said in the intro, that's all we're going to focus on today is actually recording the episode that we need to record, rather than obsessing over eyeballs and who's here with us, from an audience perspective. That said, I think it would be helpful for perhaps everybody to kind of do a small, since we only are knowing each other tangentially, maybe take a small 30-second moment to kind of share. I'm Rebecca. I'm the Peach and Chief at Stone Fruit. We help clients build incredible, unique, one-of-a-kind brands with bold business voices, and we're applying that acumen towards this project and co-creation with Janine to help her just really thrive in a new chapter of her life. And we've spent season 1 developing that brand and a brand strategy. So Janine, take that baton and tell Renee a little bit about who you are and the business that you're building, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all. So yes, I'm Janine Payne, owner of the Janine Sound Experience, and presently still operating in the legacystorygifts.com space, where I curate and storytell people's sort of significant aspects of their life, graduations and retirements and so forth. So, and now just moving toward establishing myself as not only just the business owner, but building the foundation of also an agency where I am able to bring new voices, fresh voices, voices of color to voiceover as well. So, but in the meantime, what has to happen first is establishing the business. And so already have gone through the positioning and messaging, and now in this season or in this space, working toward just the assets, what's really required in building the business sort of outward facing. But in addition, just starting to think more about what are the things that I really need to be focusing on? I mean, I have a really good idea, but and also what things need to be sort of handed off or passed on in partnership with someone else, perhaps a virtual assistant who can assist with moving things forward and meeting my goals.
Right, right.
Yeah, Renee, now you know why we're here. Renee, tell Janine a little bit about Executive Help Now. And I think it would be cool to hear just a tiny bit about your story of how you came to open, not a tome per se, but I think your story is super interesting. How you decided to open this business. I think Janine would really appreciate this kind of next chapter brand story you have.
Well, I can completely relate, Janine. Not too long ago, I was in the exact same situation. My name is Renee Hastings, and I am the president and CEO of Executive Help Now. And Executive Help Now was actually birthed out of just a desire to help executives, which is what I had made a career of doing. And I figured since I had made a career of helping executives, maybe I could bring on my own executives and be their assistant. And that's how things really got started for me. And Executive Help Now is for ambitious entrepreneurs and enterprising businesses who need to embody operational excellence and know the cost of not doing it right. We are the peak performing cohort of specialists, managers, and executive assistants who deliver one-on-one and organizational support to give you back your life and keep you emotionally available for innovation and help you do that, keep juggling all the balls without dropping a single glass ball or missing a single golden opportunity. Because building a book of business is truly a team effort. So that's what we do. We are here for you.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's get into the meat of it. For the real, reason we're here having this conversation, which is about applying your magic, Renee, to someone who's in Janine's position. So right now we have as Janine said, we have a brand positioning, we have messaging, we have a business model. We are really starting to build the nuts and bolts of being able to launch this thing and hang out our shingle. We're working on the assets this season. But dang, that's a lot to do. There's a lot to do in business, man. There's administrative stuff. All of these things need project managed. Janine, tell Renee what some of the roles you're are giving you anxiety about filling or performing.
Yeah, that's interesting because it looks different today than it did even 2 weeks ago, because some of the items I've checked off quickly, and just made sure, and working also with Rebecca, just identifying, okay, let's just knock these other things out. But the things that are now starting to take more time is even thinking about what I need, how much time of, let's say, another person I might need. And I think sometimes it's hard to even determine what it is, how someone else can really contribute. One of my biggest concerns is sort of getting someone sort of up to speed with what I know that the areas that I need, and in particular, if we're talking particulars, it's more in the area of researching articles. I'm thinking more right now of the the blog space, the social media presence and profile, and then just researching articles, because soon, as Rebecca mentioned, moving into the podcast space, and if we want to call it a podcast, but using my voice differently, but still behind the mic, identifying the types of topics that I am interested in, and again, doing some of the research that I can, draw from, and then to build from there. And I think a lot of that is particularly your social presence is based on that gathering of information, and then so that people can identify with who I am. But I'm doing a lot of that work now, and it takes a lot of time. And socially, I love social media. It's like a love and hate. I recognize the value of it, but I think what really is tiresome is trying to do all of that on your own.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
there's some other business building, like the foundation. I mean, Rebecca and I have talked about, establishing even the, like, I'll just say chart of accounts and things like that for on the financial side. But Rebecca, you'll be happy to know that those areas have been secured, and
Okay, girl. Okay.
along with, I'm just being really honest. One of my issues was, because I used to work with my son, who's an audio engineer, and just being anxious about knowing that I need to learn how to do it myself, the editing, right? And
Mhm.
so I've taken on that, a huge bite, and learning the software, and doing pretty good, and going to seek some other support that I have available to me now. And so those things is interesting how, as Rebecca and I were talking several weeks ago, they really have started to be, okay, I'm putting those things in action. It's like, now I can see where else do I need help. So I'll stop there
Mhm.
and let you offer some advice in areas of helping someone like me even identify where you may need help, and whether or not, and how a virtual assistant perhaps would be able to support, or executive assistant. I'm not, sure, which I really need. So I hope you can help, Renee.
Absolutely. And they can be one and the same, actually. So you have a virtual executive assistant. But I first have a question though, and that will kind of help frame the rest of my feedback. And my first question is, why do you have to learn audio editing?
Because I want to.
Okay.
So the first thing is knowing what I will then be asking others to do, and knowing more about that behind the scene. And also, because I'm currently a solopreneur, if you will, I don't
Mhm.
have the agency yet. I am pursuing my own VOs, right? And I
Mhm.
need someone who would be me quickly. Like, if I see a gig and I want to go after it, I don't have time to then identify someone, call up to see if they're available, what time of day. Been there, done that, and it just does not work. um
Got
so yeah, so that's
got
the yeah.
Okay. So that makes complete and total sense. So it sounds like that activity is birthed out of some trauma.
I don't know. You know what?
That's what it kind of sounds like.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily frame it as trauma, but definitely having missed opportunities, and
Mhm.
and realizing what the sort of the root cause of the missed opportunities are. Yeah.
Right. Understood. Completely understood. And so I get that. And so that definitely helps me understand where you're coming from with that, in terms of an activity for you as the business owner, and you as the host, and you as the person in charge. Because one of the things that you want to think about is, where is your time best spent? Is your time, given the value of your time, is the value of your time best spent editing audio,
Yes.
or is it, you know, planning the next interview, or uh, you know, making the connections for for guests, or things like that. So, anyways, that's very, very helpful. And one of the things that we do at Executive Help Now, when we're helping a new client build a social media presence is we talk to them about what the pillars are of the conversations that they want to have. So if the pillars of their conversation are family or gardening or sports or whatever those are, we get those top 3 or 4 subject matters that will be pillars of content. And once that content is identified, then we can break it down into all the different aspects of things that are involved or comprised within those particular pillars.
Yes.
From those pillars, you can develop a whole social media calendar based on those pillars. And that's what we do for our clients. We help them, if they don't already have an idea or understanding or know where they want to go with their pillars. Usually they do, because most of our clients have been in business for a while and have a really great idea of where they want to go and what's important to them, who their ideal client or audience is, who their ideal audience is and what their ideal audience wants to know more about. And they give that information to us. And then once we have that information, we're able to build on that, whether it's your social media posts or blog posts or repurposing content from, a snippet from a podcast to, an actual post itself, or further into, going into deeper detail in a blog.
Right.
So it sounds to me, Renee, like this triad could actually, in specifically addressing social media, could function very well, because Janine and I have already done the positioning and the messaging, and we already know what those pillars are. And so if we handed those over to your team, what I'm hearing is that you guys then kind of take the ball and run with it. And then Janine's only obligation really is to kind of green light the plan and maybe the tone, and then your team just does all of the production of it, question mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a way of capturing all of the information, including the graphics, the hashtag strategies, the captions. We do it all and lay it out in a way so that it's easy to review, easy to check the content, making sure that it's worded exactly the right way. So it sounds like you, looks like you, feels like you, the whole nine. Can be edited in real time and then scheduled post, once you green light on it. Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could pull back the perspective just a little bit and talk about how someone like Janine, who hasn't started her business yet officially, can be thinking about scaling, and by, I guess maybe a little bit more of a pep talk, Renee, about, where's your time well spent, and how can Janine set her own expectations for planning based on the being very open to adding on kind of a fractional team like yourself?
Right. That's a great question. I love that, because it's so important. The communication, when you're working with a remote team, communication is critical. And so even though as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, you're already probably very, very busy, you feel like time is so precious and you don't have a whole lot to spare. So you want to maximize the time that you do have with your dedicated virtual assistant. So when you schedule that hour with that virtual assistant, whether it's an hour a week or an hour every other week, or whatever that looks like for you, you want to make sure that you cover as much as possible through that. And then whatever you're not able to cover in that hour, communicate on another platform like Slack or something like that, to keep balls moving, keep things going. Because even though you're on to the next thing, your VA is handling all the details of the things that you guys discuss. So building in the time and knowing that it will take some time, it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time, because, you have content already available. We can get an idea of what your voice sounds like, what you've said in the past, those kinds of things to kind of mimic and emulate that moving forward.
Right.
And so that time is, very well spent. And so once your virtual assistant knows you, You know them. They know how you sound, your nuances, the things you say, the words that you use that, no one else uses in the way that you use them. Once they get that, then they're able to then execute on the content in that way. And it's consistent no matter what the pillar is that we're discussing on any particular day.
How does someone know when it's time to bring on help?
Someone will know that it's time to bring on help when you're not able to do the things that are necessary to bring in money.
Yep.
So if there's something keeping you, like if you're having to check your email because you're getting 100 emails in a day, but you don't want to miss an opportunity, so you filter through all the 75 junk emails to get to the, 10 opportunities, that can take time. That's taking away time from you from being able to focus on the things that are making you money. Give that to somebody else. Someone else can check your email. They can let you know if there's opportunities in there, whether it's through, your DM platforms, your LinkedIn invitations, or, whatever the platform is where people reach out to you to try to schedule time with you or to get in touch with you or to give you an opportunity. It could be your Gmail, Outlook, doesn't matter. Have them manage that for you. And then, whether it's, scheduling meetings and things like that, it takes a lot of time to schedule meetings with other busy people trying to coordinate times. You should not be spending your time doing those kinds of activities. That's something that your assistant can do. Even the content that is being created for your social media. Once they know the basics and they have the pillars and they have the Monday theme and the Tuesday theme and the Wednesday theme, or whatever the themes are for the days of the week that you want to do, they can take that and they can run with it. And then in that time that you all have to spend together, that's where you focus and you make your edits and give your feedback. Once you give that feedback, that stays with your VA and they listen and they apply that going forward. And so eventually you won't have those conversations anymore. I can't, my assistant has done my social media for so long that, she already knows what my voice is, who I am, what I'm all about, what my values are, my standards, my preferences. And so we're supposed to get together every week, but we don't. And the posts are always great because she already knows me, so I don't have to anymore. So eventually those things are just handled like magic.
But I think you really made an excellent point. That it takes time to get to know each other. You're building a relationship, really, right?
Absolutely.
And they recognize and they know your voice, right? And the same would be, for me. They would soon know. So I know she would say this, or I know she would end it this way, or I know that whatever. So you don't have to meet as frequently.
Right.
When I, initially, and I've given a lot of thought to virtual assistant, like Janine, where do you really need the help? So I've given that a lot of thought, which is why I'm just honing on building a presence online, building, a stronger platform, if you will, in that space, but not needing to do a lot of that work myself. And I know that it will be a relationship that will be established with a virtual assistant. But I also thought about that this also feels like I know we say virtual assistant, but like a personal assistant, because some of the things that also take time for me are other things that I'm involved in. And Rebecca and I have had an opportunity to talk about one of them that soon will, things will be shifting in that space, but there still are things that I'm responsible for that. Oh, I thought, excuse me. Is it just me? Do you hear a beep? Okay. I don't know where that, maybe, I'm sorry.
What's your future calling?
No, I'm wondering if it's up or downstairs, and I'm just.
That's your future success calling.
Um,
Beep,
so
beep. We're here.
I'm gonna.
Embrace us.
I know. I'll make this statement, and then I'll check to see whether or not. I mean, because it sounded like it was the carbon monoxide beep. Anyway, so I'm sure
God, girl.
yeah, I'm sure that will be. Well, that is part of your household, so you got to check it out. But I will. so I'll make this point. So there's some things on a personal assistant sort of space as well that I need. And I thought, okay, do you mix is it mixing apples and oranges? I mean, it still remains a need, right? But
Mhm.
is that mixing apples and oranges when some of the work may not necessarily pertain to just the business, but it's the same person, me, that needs, a little support so that I can do then some of the other things that needs to be done. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh my God, I'm
Absolutely.
so glad you brought that up because
Yes,
there is no silo. Renee, take it away.
100%, Janine. Totally get that. That there, along with business comes life, and there are things that they collide. They often collide. So one of the great things about the virtual assistants on our team is that they are very flexible and very diverse and very talented. And so one of the things as part of our client onboarding, I will do a discovery call with a particular client, and in this case, say it's you, and I will find out from you all the things you want in your ideal world. If you didn't have to do this, if you didn't have to do that, whether it's personal, whether it's business, give me all the stuff. Tell me how we could lighten your load. What do you want off of your plate?
Mm.
And if that's, someone to call my hairdresser and make me an appointment, or somebody to call my eye doctors and get me some new glasses, or whatever, we put it on the list.
Right,
And
right.
then those are the things we take care of for you.
Got it.
So, and if I need some research done for this social media post,
Mhm.
we do that as well.
Yeah.
So our team is very versatile, very experienced, and very knowledgeable about taking care of executives, no matter what that looks like. If it's administrative support, personal assistance, bookkeeping, social media, it doesn't matter. We cover it all because that's what we are here for. We are here to help executives, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners.
That is great to hear because, as I said, I haven't given this a lot of thought. But then I realized that wow, there's some personal things that are unrelated to the business, but that will allow me to do more for the business, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
research is one area. Research, and so I'll just be honest. Research in the social media space, but also the research needed to finish my business plan. I had spoken
Mhm.
briefly to Rebecca even about that. Hey, I need to create a business plan. I know that. At
Mhm.
the same time, and in some ways it's tweaking it, but there's some
Mhm.
research, right? Some demographic research and some other things. And I'm like, well, is this something? Because I certainly can find a research assistant, but I'm
Mhm.
wondering how much of that I could, if it's through your organization or another, really start to sort of thrash out and figure out, okay, as you said, kind of dump everything. Say, these are the things that are driving me crazy or that I really don't have
Mhm.
time for, but I know need to get done.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the Eisenhower box, where it's like, the important is the urgent and not urgent and the whatever. So, and I think I'll be honest with you, I do, because and it helps me a lot because you realize there's some things that are important, that other things are not important, but some that are urgent that you need to do yourself and other things that you need to give to others. So I recognize
Absolutely.
that and value it. And it's just
Yeah.
good to hear that, through your organization, that is your approach. It's like,
Yes.
please dump. We need it all so then we can help you figure it out.
Absolutely. And in that Eisenhower box where the urgent and important are those things that are typically only you can do.
Yep.
Those other three boxes, it's all us.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
such an important discussion because I think that we really, particularly as women who are we can kind of fluidly go between roles and wear a lot of different hats. And
Mhm.
so I think that there's like maybe kind of a toxic thought within entrepreneurship that things can be siloed. Like, okay, my home finances can be a mess as long as my business finances are together, or
Absolutely.
vice versa. Or, I show up at my desk and everything's kind of closed off and I work that thing and it's separate from the logistics that I manage in my personal life. But Andre, this is not clock in at, even say 8 o'clock and clock out at even say 6 o'clock. They're so enmeshed. And when we recognize how intertwined our personal and professional lives are, and
Mhm.
open up to the idea of getting support that is kind of a global support rather
Right.
than compartmentalized, I think the sooner we can be free to run our businesses in a way that make us really happy,
Mhm.
instead of feeling like we can only just, stay in our lane and have someone else who stays in their lane and someone else who stays in their lane. So I'm really glad that you brought this up. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Same. And I'm so glad that our team has that flexibility and that knowledge. So we have some, and that's why the that discovery call that we're doing the dump is
Mhm.
so important and so critical, because then when I'm making the match to the virtual assistant, I need to have all of that information so that I can see who on the team would be the best fit for Janine.
Right.
She needs this, she needs that. Who has that skill set? Who has the capacity in terms of volume of work that needs to be done? Who has that availability? Whose personality would mesh the best with
Mhm.
Janine, given her demeanor and drive or determination or whatever your personality is.
Right.
I have that well in mind when I'm determining who on the team would be the best fit for this partnership. Because when I make the match, it's with the intention that this is going to be a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship
Mhm.
that just grows over time.
I love that, and I love the long-term mutually beneficial, because another thought that I, had is, I am and I think between the three of us, I know that relationships mean a lot, right?
Uh,
And when you spend the time in a discovery call, you want it to be worthwhile. So that means me being ready for the call, right? But
mhm.
you having already done the work in, just thinking through based on even this interaction, it's like, I see some things, I'm already have someone that perhaps could help or not, but
Mhm.
bringing ourselves, our true selves to
Right.
to the table, but it's the relationship that happens, the bonding that happens, that is going to maintain and sustain the relationship, right? So I'm
Absolutely.
I was just tickled when you said long term relationship. I thought, okay, yeah, that sounds like something I can do, because one thing that I've thought about is, I think a lot, I think we all do, but is just not being sort of in and out, just or not being able to bring my whole self. That
Mhm.
was, that is an apprehension, and I don't know if others have it who are thinking to pursue a virtual assistant support, executive assistant support. I know I keep saying that, but I just want to make sure that I'm not that I'm recognizing and showing value to what this person brings to someone like me. So, but building the relationship is important. So if I haven't
Yeah.
made the point at least 3 times, so
Right. And
yeah.
I could that's one of the core values of our business
Mhm.
is the development of these relationships. It's not just a job to us. This is a partnership where we understand how much it takes for, number one, an executive to delegate something. When they're so used to handling all the things themselves and then they have to release it to someone else, that can be scary.
Yeah.
That can be like
Yeah.
terrifying.
It's also something we procrastinate about because we
Right,
get
because it's
really enrolled in it's faster if I do it myself. It's
right.
faster if I do it myself. My God, in order for me to get my workflow right, I have to have the description of the live stream written in advance of somebody scheduling it in StreamYard. And yet I'm in
Oh,
the StreamYard window writing the description because I'm just working, like putting out fires and on the fly.
Right.
So, Renee, I know that's a different stage of business than we're kind of currently iterating, but I think that the danger is still the same of
Yeah.
just getting in this, just getting used to just doing it all yourself and doing it all kind of haphazardly, poorly, not adhering to your own best practices. I respond to every email within 24 hours. That easily can fall off the waistline when you're like doing all these other things. And in order to hand them off to someone, you have to get to a breathing point. How do people get to that breathing point, in your opinion?
Well, they just have to get tired enough of being sick and tired.
Facts. You said the quiet part out loud, for real. Say it one more time. Once more for the people in the back.
They just have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. When you get to that point and you're like, I'm done. I just can't. I'm one person. There's 50 million bazillion things to get done. I need more sleep. I need to quit missing my kids' events. I need to have more dinners at home. I have to this for my own self-care. When you finally get to that point, you'll get to the point where you say, let me make a list of all these things I don't want to do anymore. Somebody else can do who loves to do these things.
What an empowering episode. Zach, when you make this episode, pause and let people write a list of the things they don't want to do right now. Take 5 minutes and write a list of the things you don't want to do anymore. I think that, Renee, that point you're describing when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, there's also a recognition there that all you've done is bought yourself a job. When you realize that all you've done is bought yourself a job that you really kind of have stopped enjoying doing, you just have I don't know, a slightly less cool boss when you buy yourself a job. So when you stop enjoying it, I think is a very big KPI.
You want to keep loving what you do. You started this business for a reason. There's a passion that started this. You want that passion to be alive and on fire every day, like every day. Yeah. And when you're carrying the weight of so much responsibility, it kills the joy. I made an illustration before of, like, if you're a weightlifter, or you're, trying to lift a 300-pound weight, it's hard to do that with a smile and being happy and joyful and going, hey, look at me lift up 300 pounds. No, it's like, you're struggling, and you're frowning and your face is all twisted up and you're not happy. That's right. But then you start taking some of that weight off. And maybe it's a 50-pound bar now that you're just doing like this. Yeah, you can do that with a smile because you've let go of some of the weight that was holding you down. That's what we do. We take that weight but even though the weight is taken off, the work is getting done. You're just not the one doing it.
And you're still meeting your goals, and you're still
meeting your goals. Yeah, exactly. And you're free to think about what other goals you want to set.
That's it.
That's exactly where I was going, because you're no longer afraid or guilty. Afraid you're doing it wrong, guilty you're not doing it at all. And when you are in that space, you can't innovate, you can't problem solve. You're just kind of doing things by rote, which I promise we wouldn't really obsess over the comments, but we do have a question for you, Renee, from Tony, and this is a great place to talk about it, which is the role of emotions in business, and elaborate. Because you mentioned the role of emotions in business, can you elaborate regarding the role of emotion in one's business? And I think Tony's speaking to that space where you say, keep yourself emotionally available for business. This is a perfect time to talk about what that means and why it's important.
So what prompts that comment is, as a leader, when you have so much responsibility and you're doing all the things that someone else should be doing, you have a lot that's weighed down on you, and it can tend to make you feel overwhelmed, stressed out, just like your cup is overflowing too full. And when you're in that kind of space, or you're in that emotional space of being overwhelmed, it's hard for you to engage with your team in a loving and kind and caring manner, whether it's with your team or your family even. So when you let
or
go
yourself.
or yourself. Yes. So when you let go of these things that are burdening you, taking time away from the important things, then you feel lighter, you feel freer, you feel more emotionally available to give that understanding and that compassion to that person, whether it's your team member, your family member, or yourself.
And also, I think to hear new opportunities or to
Yeah.
embrace new opportunities that you might be shut down to and like, well, I can't even chase that right now. I am so
Right.
busy. Or you're not, or you don't have the capacity to listen for when someone is talking about something, not, and indirectly what you're hearing is, man, they really need my help. I should pursue this, this business relationship a little further because you're so in the weeds of your own business.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear this opportunity, but because you know you have all this other stuff, you're like, I just can't even. I just, yeah, sounds great, but I can't.
Yeah,
Those should be
exactly.
days of the past, not days of the future once you start working with us.
And I think that
Exactly.
goes back to what you said earlier about missed opportunities, because then you have, sort of a trail of that you could follow of all the opportunities you missed simply
Yeah.
because you haven't been able to give to yourself and,
Yeah.
in various ways, to include making time to do the thinking, ideation, all of that that's
All of that.
required. So,
I know
yeah.
that would break your heart, Janine, to see like a string of incidents that you could chew over and how you
Yeah.
should have handled it differently or done something different. That
Mhm.
is emotionally available, I think.
Right. Or even, I'm just thinking too, like if you did meet somebody who presented you with something, and right now you just don't have the capacity, you'd want to not forget about that person. You'd want to still stay in touch with that person. But if you don't keep track of that person,
Yeah.
you're going to forget them. So they need to be in a CRM somewhere for you to
That's right.
follow up on.
That's
That's
right.
you. So you send it to your assistant and you say, hey, awesome VA, I met this person. They presented me this. I can't right now. Make me a contact information, a contact for them, and a reminder to follow up in 2 weeks or something like that.
You just brought up another point that I've thought about, like in terms of what would I or someone like me need to already to have in place, like you mentioned your CRM and other sort of software that keeps a business moving.
Mhm.
Um, and what is the one? I like HubSpot. I mean, so a lot of the
Mhm.
software is free, and you can bring others and share the platform with others. But are there certain platforms that many of the awesome VAs, are accustomed to using? What is expected in terms of allowing time for them to get up to speed with something that might be unfamiliar? How does that work?
Mhm. So our VAs are very experienced in, client relationship management software programs.
Mhm.
Most of them are very similar in terms of information that they collect and their functionality. So it's contact information. If you're wanting to keep that or build a pipe drive of a flow of communication between who you met, where you met them,
Mhm.
tags, the whole nine.
Right.
So whatever system you currently have in place, that's what we would use. And then if we discover that there could be a better system for you, we will make a suggestion that you may want to consider. If you're going to do all of these things, you may want a more robust system and that's still, economical. And so we would offer different suggestions if it's appropriate. If what you're using is working, we just keep using what you have and we work with that.
Got it. Okay, that sounds great. And even beyond the CRM, social media. I can't think right off the bat of some of the platforms are available. There was one I used to use a lot.
Like
Um,
TweetDeck or
but- but-
something, Janine? Is that what you mean?
yeah, like TweetDeck or even something a little bit more powerful, but still in the same realm. Are there? So are there platforms that they again are accustomed to using, or any that you would recommend even going into the relationship? Like we have found these three to be, they work with, and I know they all have different price points,
They
so
do.
yeah,
Yeah. They have different price points and different functionality and features.
yeah.
Um, and it also depends on what your ultimate end goal is. Is your ultimate end goal to build clients and bring on as many clients as possible? Is your ultimate end goal to just build a mailing list so that you can have someone to send your newsletter to? What is it that you want to accomplish? So once we discover that, or, in our communications or working together, then we can determine, do some research and decide, give you options. Which would you prefer? Based on my research and our conversation, these will do all of this and this will do that. And these are the pros and cons. This is a price point, and give you the options of how you want to proceed. And whichever way you want to proceed, that's the one we'll use going forward.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
Were you really, Janine, looking for somebody to tell you a few things you have to have in order to move forward? Or
no.
Okay, just
No.
making
No.
making sure
No.
you got the question.
So did I answer the question? Did I not answer the question?
No, you did.
My misinterpretation.
Hey, so no, and because I know that part of my answer, part of my question was, are there platforms or whatever that you would recommend? But I think in Renee's answer, you included that assessment sort of portion of it, and then determining, say, it sounds like, given that you want to reach an audience to to increase your newsletter reads or blog or whatever it is, it sounds like this would probably work well for you. But if you also want to, I don't know, if you need reminders, and I don't know, that I'm just
right. There's a lot that goes into making a decision.
Yep.
And so it's not just a one size fits all. Everyone needs, a CRM and a bookkeeping tool and a invoicing thing and a mailer and, all, it's not everyone needs all of those things. And some people need more than that. So it depends on what their goals are. So there is this assessment involved.
That's great.
I think another thing we were really hemming and hawing over before we brought you on, Renee, was about project management for client work. So I hope that we can just address that quickly before we wrap up here today. That, say, Janine had 2 or 3 big clients and they all had coinciding. I was like concurrently and coinciding at the same time. Concurrently coinciding projects, and just to keep all of those, glass balls in the air, shall we say. Yeah, exactly. Can we talk a little bit about client project work, or how that's managed, as opposed to marketing and running your own business for its own sake?
Yes. So that looks like a training. So if there's something that you're currently doing for a client, or maybe 2 clients or 3 clients, and they each need something. They each need to have, they're all in different phases of whatever it is that you're doing for them. And you need someone to stay on top of where they are, where each person is. When you share that with us, then that's a matter of us documenting that information, keeping track of it, whether it's in our project management software, whether it's, a software like Asana or a Trello board or whatever it might look like, to manage the different aspects of the projects and to facilitate communication between the work the VA has done, the work that still needs to be done, so you add in new tickets or whatever, and then the VA gives a status update on where things are to keep things moving forward. So you share with us what your clients need. We do the work of fulfilling what that is. And then you report back to your client, this is where we are, based on the communication tools that we have.
I think another benefit to that is then you would have the workflow sketched out. You would have SOPs developed. You would have standards and practices done. So you would have checklists established in that process. So not only are you building your business, to get that one project done, but you're also building an infrastructure to grow and expand your team without having to retrain them every single time. So that's a big benefit.
Yep. And that's streamlining and building efficiencies. Absolutely.
That sounds good to me.
I love it.
Janine, what else is causing you maybe some anxiety about scaling as we get ready to hang out your shingle?
Um, right now, I'm just digesting and just ensuring that when I enter any relationship that you know um, just a matter of trust. This is an individual that you'll be working with, hand in hand. How much of your personal information will perhaps needing to render. So just if you could talk a little bit about, and maybe not just specifically for your business, but in general, best practices for, the hiring of the executive assistants, and what, not every detail, but what it entails to give that client, the assurance.
Yeah.
Of,
So absolutely. I love that question, because the trust is something that we know it doesn't come easily, it doesn't come freely, and it is earned. So when I'm onboarding a client, I have an agreement that is kind of lengthy, but it outlines basically how we work together and how we protect your information, how we gather information. We sign NDAs with the client. Our team has signed NDAs with us so that any information we receive is completely confidential.
Mhm.
There And so we have ways of sending information, documents back and forth in an encrypted way so that the information is kept confidential. Our team members use VPNs for the safety and security of the client data, to ensure that we are doing everything we can to build the client's level of trust in how we handle their information and the use of their information, and that it's all kept in strictest confidence.
Well, that is great to hear. And not that I would expect anything else, but I think you're speaking to what you all do. And also, you're answering the question, what would be expected in general? So if someone else is just, seeking VAs, it's like, hey, ask these questions.
Yes, yes,
So thank you for that,
yeah,
and for also,
absolutely.
you know, uh, overseeing a tight ship. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Indeed. Janine, do you have any more questions or topics of conversation while we have the fortune of having Renee here with us today?
Let's see. Not off the bat. I'm sure something else will come to me, but for the most part, not only have questions been answered, but also you've provided a plethora, nice word, of additional sort of the periphery. What other things not only to expect, even going into a relationship. And I do, well, yeah. So in terms of how do you establish cost? I mean, it's probably by hour. Are there minimum?
So
And
there are packages, and the packages are based on the amount of time. So they are hour packages.
Mhm.
But whatever you need to have done is contained within that package. So it's not a package for social media and a separate package for bookkeeping and a separate package for admin work or anything like that. It's just one package of hours, and whatever you need to have done, get done in those hours.
Wow, I like that.
And then once you use up all the hours, then you're billed again for
Yes.
another set of hours.
So
And
it's
so it's
like a
not like,
retainer model in a
yeah,
way?
it's a retainer model, but it's not like if you buy 20 hours, then you're stuck with 20 hours. Even if you don't use the 20 hours, next month you're getting another bill for 20 hours. Do you see what I'm saying? So
So they
you
roll
buy
over?
20 hours, you don't get billed again until the 20 hours are used up.
Aha.
That's awesome, and a real unique differentiator.
Yes.
It totally is, because, and Rebecca, I'm glad you asked that question. Is rollover, an option? Because sometimes it may be just that month. Like I'm imagining the month of December. Well, for some, December's like crazy, but sometimes you have your lows and your highs, and if you don't,
Absolutely.
yeah, expend
Yeah.
all the hours. Okay, great. That's great to learn. So no, to answer your question, Rebecca, I don't think I have any other questions, even though I
You
said
did though. You had a question and it was a great one.
that's
It
what I
was,
said.
that was a really great question. I love that. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share how we are a little bit different from other agencies out there.
Renee, do you feel comfortable sharing even a range or a price point that an entrepreneur might be expecting to buy, like 50 hours or anything in there? I don't want to put you on the spot. So if you do, I
Well,
guess
just consider it an investment in yourself.
indeed. Okay, fair enough. So I guess what I would say is if
I like
people
that
really,
answer, actually.
really wanted to know the answer to that question, they would come over here to Executive Help Now. I accept those cookies. I wish they were oatmeal raisin. Oatmeal raisin. Yeah.
We both said
And
oatmeal.
now I know your jam. To come over here to your website and to check out all about. Oh, look, she has a bot. Okay, check out everything there is to know about Executive Help Now, and then make a connection with
Yeah.
Renee to get your own discovery meeting going. How else can people find you, Renee? We should at least discuss that.
If people want to reach me, the quickest and easiest way, of course, is an email at renee@executivehelpnow.org. But if they want to know if they're ready for a VA, all they have to do is text VA Now to 1-866-943-3491, and they will get a freebie that says, how do you know when you're ready for a VA?
What's the number again, Renee? I'm typing in the comments.
Okay, the number is 1-866-943-3591.
And you want us to text
VA Now.
I love that.
As a virtual assistant now.
Coming in the comments. There we go. I will show that comment for anybody. Yes. VA Now. Text VA Now to 866-943-3591. And you can find out for yourself if you are actually ready for a virtual assistant. Very good, Renee. Very good. What questions do you have for us, if any?
When can we get started?
That's a great question.
That is why you are a successful CEO and founder.
I know we have many more conversations ahead of us, and I'm super excited about the opportunity, or even just the hope, keeping hope alive, that we will be able to partner on lots of things together.
I do. I see some real connections here. Good.
Yes, great. It's been a great conversation, and an opportunity just to learn more about your organization, what you offer, and then to get to know the principal of what is it? Executive. I should know by heart.
Executive Help Now.
Executive Help Now. Yes.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Clear that bot so everybody can see it.
Right.
Awesome.
And I just want to throw out, if anyone wants to listen to my demos, voiceover demos, you can check me out at legacystorygifts.com/sample-tributes.
And they are amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Some people have listened to them, so thank you.
I'm going to put them up here on the screen, Janine.
Okay.
Hopefully. Oh, boy.
That's it.
Yeah, there we are. How else can people find you, Janine?
You can find me on social, Janine_Payne, basically across the board. LinkedIn, particularly, you'll see me show up quite a bit in that space, along with Facebook, Janine_Payne. I
am so glad you're on the socials. What about you, Renee? How can people connect with you on the socials?
On the socials, Executive Help Now on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, as well as my personal pages. I also have a personal website, Renee Hastings 247.com, which has all of the personal and business podcast and um, virtual assistant business information all in the same page. So that's Renee Hastings 247.com.
Right here in the comments, folks, and also on the screen share. Find out more about Renee. And you also have a lot. You also have a live show and a podcast.
I
Yeah.
do have a live show called Renee Speaks, and you were an amazing guest on the show. I was so excited. Definitely for the audience, check out the YouTube show. It was
We'll put
fabulous.
that in the show. We'll put that in the show notes. Renee has also been an esteemed guest on the Stone Fruit Roll Up. Her episode was called Teams for Teams, which was a really cool idea. And Janine came in the comments on that day, and that's
Yeah.
Great show.
that's how we made this connection for sure.
Yeah.
I am I am Rebecca Gunter. I am the host of Stone Fruit Roll Up, and also here in Business in the Raw. You can find me also on LinkedIn, and I'm all over the Stone Fruit YouTube channel. STONEDFRUIT. I learned from Ross that you actually have to say that and not just say YouTube. So hopefully, and then folks who are interested will be going live with these sessions most Tuesdays through February, with the exclusion of some holidays. Kathleen's working on a calendar for us, in which we'll be building out the assets so that Janine can officially hang out her shingle in 2024. Should she still want to do that, you always have the option to change your mind. But that's what we're going for.
Why would I? Why would I?
Right? Fun is just starting.
Exactly. So we will end our live stream, and I hope you'll smash that like and subscribe button, and come and see us next time we're live. Renee, Janine, thank you for your good energy and this awesome conversation.
Awesome.
Here. Yep, thank you.
Awesome.
It's been great.